All right, so let's continue our discussion on the update methodology on in the Android application using Android database. In the previous video in this regard, I have told you briefly about how we can start the update in RealM in Android application using RealM database. So for that purpose, we have discussed briefly about the migration, the purpose of the migration, and how we can use the migration in the RealM. So let's continue our discussion and start with the main part that we were going to discuss. And that part is basically that how we can update the existing object inside the RealM database using Android application. So let's get started. First thing first, before moving into update, if you want to update the particular person, then there must be some sort of primary key, which we have discussed in our previous video. So if we look at the create button, the function that we have written in the previous video, we are not setting the ID. Okay, because in RealM the ID is not auto generated, and we have to provide some way that how the ID should be generated. So you are welcome to use any of the ID generation technique whatsoever. I will show you the simplest way that I usually use for the databases that do not hold as long values. So let me show you how we can do this. First of all, I will grab the existing ID from the database by using the method realm. So basically what I am doing, I am querying the database. I am saying that realm.where, and I'm passing person.class as an argument dot max id. Okay, so what I am doing here is that I am querying the realm database, and inside that I am passing the person, the model that I want to query, and then I'm saying that please grab the maximum ID from this particular data model. So that maximum ID is being grabbed from the person model, and then it is saved inside the ID variable. Secondly, I will create the dummy long ID variable. After that, what I will do, I will check that if the ID is null. So basically this case is if the user is creating the object for the very first time, then what I will do, I will assign the value 1 to the ID. So ID is equals to 1, and then I will say that person dot set ID. I will use the setter method for the ID, and I will say that please set this ID as ID. Okay, what if ID is not null? Then in that case I will use the long value, because since it is a number, so we have to use its long value, and I will save it inside ID. And finally I will say that person dot set ID. Okay, cool. So rest of the settings will remain same. Okay, rest of the setters will behave as well as they were behaving previously. All I have do is I have created a simple ID generator. So what it will do, it will grab the maximum ID and then check if it is null, then it will initialize the very first ID from 1. Otherwise it will take its long value. Okay, so, otherwise it will take its long value and increment it by 1. Okay, increment it by 1. So what I will do, I will save the long value inside the ID, and then I will increment it by 1, so that I can ensure that the ID is incremented properly. Okay, cool. After that, after setting IDs for the particular person object, I will create the update, I will set the on click listener on the update button. So again, I will use update button dot set on click listener, new view dot on click listener, and then inside that I will say please implement the on click method for me. Okay, so now I am inside the on click method of the update button. So first thing first, I will create the realm instance. So realm is equals to realm.get default instance. Okay, I will create the person object. So why I'm creating this, I will tell you shortly. I'm creating this person object so that I can compare this person object with the existing person object. So I will compare it with the person object that is already being queried in the read button. And what I will do that if the two objects are equal, then I will create the text message that there is nothing to update since there's nothing to update, so we don't have to do something here. So I will say that there is nothing to update. I will set the duration as length long, and then finally I will use the dot show method. So dot show. Okay, so here we go. Cool. After that, if the two objects are not same, then what we have to do, we have to set each and every field one by one. So of the person object one by one. So first of all, we have set the name, then we will set department, and of course salary, and if I can remember, organization, and I guess it was age. Okay, and inside the setters I will pass some values. So for the name, I have used the name text field, so name dot get text, and remember text field always return text, so we have to do the typecast for the string part. So I will say that string dot value of get text. Similarly for department, string dot value of department dot get text. Similarly for salary, remember salary is an integer, so we have to perform very first integer dot parse int. Inside parse int function, I will pass the string value of salary dot get text. Okay, same goes for the age. So integer dot parse int string dot value of age dot get text, and then in the organization I will say string dot value of organization dot get text. Okay, cool. But remember one thing, that this updation should occur inside the write transaction. So before performing this else check, I will say, okay, not before performing, you can write it here. Okay, you can write it inside the else. So what I will do, I will say that realm dot begin transaction. So I'm saying that whenever you come inside the else block, you have to begin the transaction for the realm. After setting all the attributes, I will say realm dot copy to realm or update, and inside that I will pass the person object. Okay, and then I will say that please commit this transaction for me. Cool. And after that I will set the text fields as empty strings, like so, so that I'm showing the empty form. And finally I will display some toast message so that I can make sure that my changes are reflected. So main activity dot this, and then um, let's say object is updated, and then finally I will supply the length as length long, and then I will say that please show this text, show this toast for me. All right, so I'm done with the coding part. So let's now test this application. I will run it on the emulator, and here is my emulator up and running. So some Gradle build is running in the background, and a couple of minutes or maybe seconds the application will going to run on my emulator. It's taking a bit while. Okay, so yeah, it's launching, and yes, so this is my application up and running. So what I will do, I will create some um, dummy object. So let's say I am creating the name Rehan, age 27, salary 29,000, maybe organization ABC, department IT, and I will click on create. So yeah, object has been created, and then I will click on read to read the object, and of course the object is the attributes are being shown on the screen. So since we have applied the query that show the very first object that was created, so since we have created Rehan, so Rehan is shown on the screen. Let's say we update this. Maybe we say that the department is not IT, and let's say it is HR, of course, and I click on update. So yes, object is updated. So now if I click on read, I'm expecting that department should be HR and not IT. So let's see. And yeah, the department is updated. Hooray, good job. So let's again test this with age part. Let's say I say 25, and maybe I use some other another name. So this time let's say I use Ahmad. Salary maybe 30,000, so that I can see the drastic change. An organization this time maybe uh, let's say P&G, and then maybe sales department. So I'm updating the values, and when I click on read, and you can see the updated values. Okay, so this was the update functionality for the realm. The video comprised of two parts. In the very first part, I told you about the necessary changes that you have to follow when you make changes inside the already created data model. I hope you have understood underlying concepts, and if you have any questions, do post them in the comment section. In the very last video, I will tell you about how you can perform the delete operation, the final operation of the CRUD functionality. So stay tuned.